A truly great and fun Halloween project to do today. Welcome to Papa's Workshop. With Halloween just around the corner, I wanted to make some additional outside decorations, or in my case, I like to put the decorations inside too. And today I'm making 2 lanterns with the scary face on them. These are a lot of fun to be able to do, so let's get started. I'm going to show you how I did them today. Before we start today's video, I've got a real big favor. Recently, YouTube has changed their algorithms. What does that mean? That means that my videos are not being recommended as often as they used to. How do we change that? I need your help in a most urgent way to be able to like this video, share it with as many people as you can, and subscribe. By making these 3 simple changes, it really will trigger those algorithms to be able to get the recommendations back out to everyone in the woodworking community and the CNC world. So if you like the videos that I'm producing, you like my teaching methods, please subscribe, like, and share. Now, let's get back to today's video. First thing we need to do is grab some faces. So I typed in jack-o'-lantern faces and let's see what we get. So you have a whole lot of different ones that you can choose. And these are actually, they sell these. So let's scroll down. You can scroll through and find all types of different faces. And this is pretty cool. Now what I'm looking for is just the face themselves. So for an example right here, you got a whole big group, but this is from $14.99. So these are all for sale. So let's go back up and I'm going to type in free clip art. And now I've got a whole nother selection, and this is free. And what I can do is just scroll down and find one that I like. Okay, I've selected this group of faces, and all I'm going to do now is just right click and copy the image. And then from there, I can just go ahead and switch back over, minimize this, and I'm going to bring up the Inkscape. And then I'm going to right click again and put in paste. And there are all of my little faces. Now the first thing that I want to do is I want to move right up here to the top under path, and I want to come down and do the trace bitmap. And then over on this side, that little window pops up. I don't need to have the 8 colors. I'm just going to bring that down to the 2 colors, and I'm going to hit update, and that'll be okay. So the trace bitmap is done, and it's directly on top of this. So I can just click on this, slide that over, and this is my trace bitmap. The original group, I can just click on this and cut it out, delete it. I do not need that anymore. So this is what I want to work with. And I'll bring this over here right now, and I'm going to zoom in. And you can see there's a lot of extra just garbage in here. Plus, all these faces are one. So if I click on just any one place, it highlights the entire area. That's not what I want. What I can do is actually break these apart. And if I come back up to the path, select on path, and right down here, it says break apart. So I'm going to do that. And now if you look closely, I'm going to zoom in, you can see all the little squares around the different components. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I don't need this anymore either. But what's nice about this, I want to go ahead and click off to the side. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight just one section. And I'll pull that over. And that's one clean face. And come over here and grab another one. Now that didn't catch everything. I'll bring that one over. That gives me 2 clean faces. There we go. And you see all this little garbage? We're just going to delete that in a moment. But I can continue to do the same thing. You just highlight each of these faces and bring them over. To me, this is a lot easier than trying to edit the nodes on everything. See, that didn't grab this bottom one. So I'm going to try it one more time. Oops. It grabbed that little bitty piece there, and I really don't want that in there. In fact, I can just right click and delete that, and it's gone anyway. So there we go. Now let's try that again. We'll put the box around everything. There we go. Now slide that over. Now I'm going to keep doing that until I have all the faces. And what I'm going to do, since this is just very repetitious, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight all of this now and just assume that I've already done everything. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And what I'm left with is some really nice clean faces that I can actually work with. But they're still individual parts and pieces. So now what I can do is highlight one of these, and I can come up to the path and I can do the union. Now all of these are connected and they're one piece again, but they're separate faces. I want to be able to, whoops, unions right here. Okay, so now I can just click on it and move it, and I have a complete face. And I can continue this process until I have all of the faces done. Just highlighted, path, union, and it is done. All right, and we'll go ahead and do this last one with the path, union. Now what I'm left with is 6 different faces. All of them are joined together. But the nice thing about it now, when I bring this over into Easel, I have 6 different faces. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out now and save it, and I'm going to open up Easel. Now I went ahead and opened this up, and I've actually already moved some around. But to be able to bring it in, all you have to do is come over to this left menu and select Import, select SVG, because we saved that in Inkscape as an SVG file. And here are my jack-o'-lantern faces. And I can bring that into it. But since I already have it, I'm just going to go ahead and close that. What's nice about this, I can now take and open this up on a new workpiece. So let's go ahead and do that, because I've been playing with these for a while. So I'm going to open up a new workpiece down here, and I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab one of these. And let's say I grab this one right here. So all I need to do is hit Control C, and then I'm going to come down to my new workpiece and hit Control V. And there it is. Now the material size that I'm working with is going to be 5 1/4 by 9 inches. And this is where I can actually play with this. I can stretch this down. I can go ahead and stretch this up, make him a little bit more scary. I can actually tilt this a little bit if I want. All kinds of things that I can do. With this highlighted now, I'm going to select Edit and Center to the material. And that puts it right into the center. Now when I carve this, I don't want to carve it where it's going to have to cut out every single thing. That's just too much work, too much time, quite frankly, too much sawdust. So what I'm going to do is highlight this image again, and I'm going to come over here to my cut path, and I'm going to cut, I think we're going to cut it on the path. So that's outside. This one is the cut on path. Certainly I don't need tabs. I'm going to remove the tabs. And there is my scary little pumpkin figure that I can cut out. And here's what it's going to look like over here. It's just that easy. This is actually ready to carve. Now, the couple things I want to confirm, it is cutting all the way through. Material is a 1/2 inch thick. And we're going to confirm that when we actually get the material. But I want to show you just how easy it is to be able to create these faces. I want to show you one more thing. I went back to Google Images and found another image and did the same thing. So this is after the bitmap is done, and this is more your traditional looking jack-o'-lantern. But what I want to be able to do is just come up and save this. And I've already saved this once. It's a jack-o'-lantern face, and it's a SVG file, so I don't need to really save it again. But the nice thing about this is when I close this down and go back to Easel, what I can actually do is the same thing. I can take this to my SVG file right here. I can click on it. There's my jack-o'-lantern face. I can go ahead and open that, and I can add faces to this. So each year, if I find new faces that I would like to add and be able to carve, I can do that. I don't need to start completely over with a brand new file. It's just a matter of bringing it in and set it up on the original one. So there's my jack-o'-lantern face right there, and I can add to it. So that is something that I wanted to really be able to point out to you, that once you have a file set with all the different faces, you still can come back and add additional faces to it. So this is a project that you can actually grow year to year and do different things. The boards that I'm using today are actually cedar fin slats. I could use pressure treated, but I wanted to have something just a little bit nicer and hopefully something that'll last for a number of years. So I chose to go with these cedar 6-foot fin slats to be able to make this project. And the first order of business, I'm gonna run these through the planer and be able to get them cleaned up and get rid of all the fuzzies. It doesn't have to be totally smooth, but I do want to get most of them taken care of and removed. Now these boards are thin to begin with, and all I want to be able to do is clean up the surface and remove most of the fuzzies. Again, it does not have to be completely smooth. That part is not necessary because I still want a little bit of a rustic look. So I'm taking these fin slats and running them through, and I'm doing both sides so it cleans up both sides of these boards. And of course I'm going to run them all through at once with the thickness, then I'll change the thickness, flip them over, and run them through the second time. Now these lanterns are going to be 9 inches tall, and I'm just going to go ahead and set up my table saw sled to be able to set it right at the 9 inches and then cut all of the pieces. Now I'm cutting enough for 2 lanterns, but you certainly could make a whole lot more if you wished. Now the first thing I'm doing is just squaring off the end, taking that little scrap and throwing it away, and then sliding over to my bump stop, and that will give me the exact 9 inches that I need. And I'm going to go ahead and cut all of the boards that I need for this project. The fin slats are 6 inches wide, and I did not want the lanterns to be that wide. So I set the table saw fence up for my 5 1/4 inches, and I'm running all of the individual pieces through to get the correct width. Now the sides are going to be 4 1/4 inches because I want these lanterns to be square. I want to go ahead and confirm the thickness, and this is 0.51. Right here it's 4.9. That is 0.50. And that's 0.51. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and set up the computer so that it'll carve all the way through, and I'm going to set the depth of cut at 0.51. And I think that will give me a good depth, and if there's a little bit left to cut out, that's okay. Okay, I went ahead and put the face down, secured it, and I have these 2 in place. And what will be nice is when I get ready to swap it out, All I need to do is move this one and that one, slide the new piece in and clamp it back down, and I'll be ready to go. This is still holding real tight, so that's going to be good. I've already put my 1/8 inch bit into the router, so I'm actually ready to be able to begin to carve. The real question is, which one should we carve? Now, one thing I want to show you is if I click on this, everything is attached. Well, one of the things you can do, since this would not carve very well, is actually go ahead and go over to the apps, scroll down, and select the Exploder app, and bring that into, let's get this out of the way. We'll slide this, whoops. Let's just go back and put that where it's supposed to be. I want to take this one and move it out of the way. And I want to take this entire group and be able to center it into the material. And then I want to take this nose and I can slide it over. I can take this portion of the nose and slide it over. And then when I look to see how it's going to carve, I can get a much better picture. In fact, let's go ahead now and change this. We're going to select this entire face. We've got it on the cut, and we're going to go ahead and do the cut path, and we're going to cut it on path. And now you can see where it will cut out, but it will leave a little section there in the middle. That's what we want. So I think we'll carve this one. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and get rid of all of this. So we will carve this one. So let's verify the information now. We know that we have this set up at 5 1/4. We have this at 9 inches. And I did want to change this depth of cut to 0.51 inches. So we'll come back over here now and verify that that is set at our 0.51. So we're going to be in good shape. My XY0 is going to be the bottom left-hand corner. So we are ready to carve. One of the nice things about this setup that I have is I have cut a line into my wasteboard, and that actually creates my XY0 position. And that means anytime that I do any type of movement, I can always come back really to that same point. Is it 100% accurate? Yeah, if I move something, sure, it will be off. But that gives me a reference that I use over and over, and it has worked extremely well. So now I'm actually ready to carve. I'm going to go ahead and turn the router on, and we're going to get started. I'm going to take each of the work pieces and get them cleaned up and get them ready to carve. And then I will share this project on the Inventables project page so that any of you can download and carve your own scary faces for your lanterns. Now, as far as the speed, I'm cutting this at 60 inches per minute, and that is doing a very, very good job. Now, if you'll recall, when I brought this in and showed you how to be able to separate that nose, I forgot to actually take out the tabs, and that's okay. The tabs are there, and that'll keep the work piece in place, those little cutouts. Cedar itself is normally a very soft wood, and it does splinter out quite a bit. But in this particular case, and I'm not sure why, it's actually doing very well, and there's very little splintering. So although there will be some sanding and cleanup, it's really not going to be that much. I wanted to show specifically this little nose and how when we moved it over, it made it where it cuts very clean and gives the look that you want. So keep in mind, you can move the individual components. Okay, it's all completed. We're going to raise this up and move the gantry out of the way. I think you would agree that looks pretty good. So we just loosen up these two. Pull this one out. I'm going to get rid of this little bit of dust. Drop the new one in position, clamp it down, and we're ready to start carving again. And I think what I'm going to do is carve the pumpkin that was the last one that I brought in. Looks pretty good. And you can see we did use the tabs because I forgot to be able to take them out, and actually that's okay. And that held that little piece in position. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out, and I'm going to do that while we're carving the second one. Now this is the pumpkin face that I brought in as a separate face to the file. And we're going to go ahead and carve it. This one's ready to go now. The only thing I need to be able to do is change the setting and cut it on the path. I went ahead and changed it. Now it's on path. It is showing the tabs. And I think I'm going to go ahead and leave the tabs. I am going to take this one and I'm going to slide it right around to there. And then I'm going to look. That one's okay. But I don't want this one in the corner. I'll slide it up there. So now we're all set. These are a lot of fun to be able to carve, and you could be able to create these lanterns. I hope you choose to do this project. Now that little center nose did come loose on that last cut, and it really didn't cause a problem, but I went ahead and pulled it out. I could not add the tabs there, so if anyone knows how to add a tab, I would love to know, because I could not add a tab to be able to hold that nose in place. At the router table, I decided to put a little chamfered edge on the top and the bottom, as well as this little decorative piece that will go into the center on the top. Now this part's not really necessary, but I do think it adds a nice little touch to it. So this is your choice if you choose to add the 45-degree chamfer or not, or just leave it square. But this does give you an option. And I'm going to show you the finished lantern in a moment and what that little chamfer looks like. I think it is a nice little detail. Now it's time just to take some sandpaper and clean up these edges. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm just going to get the bulk of it. Does it have to be perfect? No, it does not. And I'm not going to bore you with the video going the whole time. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean these up, show you what it looks like after it's done. Sanding's all done, and again, it's not perfect, but I got most of the rough edges off, smoothed it up, so there's no places where you're going to get splinters, and that's the most important thing. So now it's time just to go ahead and assemble it, and I'm just going to use the glue and nails and put this together. Now because this is probably going to be outside at least part of the time and not indoors, I am going to be using the Titebond 3, which is a waterproof glue. I went ahead and speeded up the video on this part, but all I'm doing is just putting a bead of glue down and spreading it out onto the surface, and then using a 1-inch nail to be able to shoot this in place. And that will act as a clamp to hold it so I can just continue on with this project. And again, on the other side, a nice bead of glue and put it in and nail it in position. On the back side of the project now, I need to put the back on. And you notice this is shorter. This is actually 2 inches shorter, and that's going to allow me to put the LED tea lights into position. So this way I can go ahead and glue this on and nail it, and not have to worry about any type of parts coming loose or getting lost. Yeah, I really didn't want any type of door or magnets or anything that potentially could get lost or damaged while they're out on display, or for that matter when they're in storage. It's kind of funny. Things have a tendency to break when they're in storage. This way they're going to be solid and secure with, in essence, no moving parts. The little LED tea light will be able to slide in and out, and that is perfect. Now it's time to go ahead and put the top on, and I wanted to show you that chamfered edge up close. I think that's going to add a nice little touch on the top and on the bottom. And I'm really not going to take a whole lot of time measuring it. For the most part, I'm just eyeballing it. I am going to mark it so that I can have it as accurate as I can without spending a lot of time with a tape measure and measuring this. Again, it doesn't have to be that precise. So with a little bit of glue added to it, I'm just going to flip this over, put it back in place. And I did have a little pencil mark to be able to show where I want it. But again, this is more just eyeballing and getting the spacing correct than it is anything else. And once I have it like I want it, then I'm just going to go ahead and flip it over and put the nails into it to secure it in position. And the last piece to go on is this little cap. And this is really just for decoration. And I'm going to put that right there. That's all even. Yeah, that looks real good. Just going to mark that so I can put the glue on it. Put it back in position. Right there. And we'll nail that in place. And this one's completed. I think that looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and get the other one assembled, and we're going to test them out. The second one is now finished. I'm going to grab the little tea lights, put them inside, and we're going to see what they look like. I think these turned out absolutely fantastic. The little lanterns are a fun, easy project to be able to do. It's something that you can share some time with the kids and have a great family project to be able to put these together and build them with your X-carve. And keep in mind, I am going to put a link in the description to be able to download this file from the Inventables project page so that you can create your own, along with the other faces that I have that you can have a lot of fun with. I couldn't resist. I had to turn out all of the lights and see what they look like. I think these turned out fantastic. Hi everyone. Thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also, check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.